Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, welcome back to this episode. And today, my goal today is for you to be able to visualize and see your retirement clearer than you ever have seen it or even thought about it before. Whether you're retired right now or thinking about retirement or moving into retirement, today I hope this video or podcast will help you see it crystal clear on what for you will be a rich life. But I have to say that is going to look very different, or should look very different from other people. It should, and let me tell you why. I am in a very fortunate position where I talk with a lot of retiring people, a lot of people that are stopping working, that are moving into retirement, and that goes from people that make $40,000 a year to people that a couple maybe makes $500,000 a year. And I've talked with tons of business owners that make millions of dollars a year. And guess what? They all say the exact same things when it comes to their money. The exact same thing. It doesn't matter the income bill. This is what they say. When it talks about how much they spend, right? Because when it comes to retirement and financial planning, that is a key factor. It's how much do we want to spend in retirement? What do we need for you to have the rich life? When this comes up, every person that I've talked to, without exception, says this. They say, my spending is reasonable. I'm not extravagant. There's nothing crazy out there. But again, the people that make $40,000 a year or $500,000 a year, they all say the same thing. And so obviously their spending is vastly different. But we all say, and in our mind, think about it. If we all think about our own spending, like, yeah, it's totally reasonable. Nothing too crazy. It's reasonable. But we all have very different levels of income. So again, we have to remember we are all at different places, and what we care about is going to be different. Because we've all had that experience where we see someone, maybe a family member, maybe a friend, where they purchase something and we're like, wow, that's kind of dumb. They paid how much money for that? We've all had that experience. And that just goes to show that we all value things differently. Now, let's bring it back to the rich life. How do you have a rich life in retirement? And the first step is to get crystal clear about what is important to you. What does your rich life look like? Because honestly, you probably have never thought about this like this before. And let me walk you through it. What areas of your life, if you could crank up your spending or crank up the time that you spend in the area, would make you multiples happier? Think about it. It's not every area. What about family and friends? Do you want to live closer to your kids? Or how much more time would you love to spend with your friends, your family, your kids? Would that just light you up? What about if you could spend twice as much money eating out or going on trips or buying the nice clothes that you like? If you could spend twice as much money on those things, would that light you up? What different things would light you up if you were able to double your spending on it? Or triple your spending, whatever it is. What areas of your life are crucial for you? Would you love the opportunity to give service, to volunteer for your church and have the time to do certain things? Again, what areas would light you up? Would just make you super, super happy. And most people have never thought about this. Never thought about it. But to have a rich life in retirement, you have to know exactly what that looks like for you. And honestly, the closer and the deeper you dive into what you actually care about, the more different that's probably going to look than someone else's rich life. Because your rich life is probably not going to be the same rich life as a friend, a coworker. It's going to look different, and it should look different. Now, this is what you have to do to have a rich life. Once we find those areas that we say, wow, if I could just crank up the spending, if I could just crank up the time and the energy I could put into that, wow, that would be incredible. Then we have to look at, okay, what are the areas, what are the different dials that I really just don't care about much. I really don't care about much. And for those things, maybe we have to dial it down. Say, hey, I really don't care about living in a big house. It's just more to clean. It's more to take care of. I really don't care about that. Okay, perfect. Let's dial that down. Let's downsize. Let's do something where it's not as expensive. It's easy to maintain, maybe closer to kids. What makes sense and what do you care about? Again, it is going to be uniquely you. It is going to be uniquely you and should be uniquely you and what your rich life looks like. Because again, the dollar amount doesn't matter. Like I've talked about before, some people make $1 million a year, some people make 40,000, and we all think we spend reasonable amounts on things. It's not the dollar amount that matters. Obviously, you have to make your retirement numbers work. Obviously, you have to have a solid plan in place. But how do we allocate those numbers and then the newfound time you're going to have in retirement so that you have a rich life that you are proud of and lit up and fired up about every day in retirement? What does that look like for you? And me as the numbers guy, when I help clients work through the numbers, we have to always bring that back. Okay, what does that look like for, where do you want to live? Do you want to be close to family? What kind of weather do you want to experience? Do you want to live in Maine? Do you want to live in Florida? That's a vastly different experience. Is that important to you? Some people don't care. And that's great. If you don't care, dial that down. It doesn't matter to you. But if it matters, where do you want to be? There's been a study that says, hey, the people close to kids in retirement tend to be happier. Is that important to you? Where do you want to be? Close to friends, close to family, close to places where you can easily travel abroad, where you can go and eat out and try all the new restaurants that you want. Maybe in a small town, you're not going to have all the cool restaurants that, if that's important to you, hey, maybe be in a place where you can do that more readily. What is important to you? And then align. Obviously, you got to look at your money and say, okay, I'd love to have that $2 million house, but maybe I can't afford that. It depends. It depends on your money and what you have. You have to then align, okay, how do we use the funds we have? Because our money is limited, and sometimes we can't do everything. That is why, again, it's so crucial to prioritize, okay, what areas are the most important? Dial those up. The ones that aren't as important, let's dial those down. Those don't matter. Okay, great. Let's dial those down so I have more time, energy, and money to go towards the things that I care about. And when we're working, we never really think about this. We just get caught up in the day-to-day, going to the office or logging into Teams or whatever it is, getting on the computer, and we forget, okay, how do I create a life? How do we create a rich life that I'm really jazzed about? And again, if you're still working, often, a lot of these things that we think about, like, wow, if I could just do this, we don't have to wait till retirement. Often these things are simple. Some of the things are, wow, I would love to do a weekly Zoom call with my kids, with my family. That would be awesome. Well, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. Or, hey, I would love, what if I was able to get that incredible steak that I love to eat every week? What if I got it every week? Could you make that happen in your budget? Maybe you move stuff around. That doesn't cost very much money. Often these things that would just light us up and make us excited, these little things, they don't cost much money. Sometimes they do, depending on what it is, but often they don't. What are the little things that if we crank that up, you don't have to feel bad about your spending if you have a plan. I love spending money on things that I care about and love to do. That's great. But on the things that I don't really care about, I'm going to dial that way down. I'm probably going to spend nothing on that because that doesn't matter to me. So I hope this inspires you. I hope it inspires you to think, okay, what is that rich life for me? And you have to ignore what other people are doing. Other people are going to do different things, and you have to ignore that. What is important to you? Align everything to that, period. So once you have time to think about it, put in the comments below on the YouTube channel, what does your rich life look like? What does that look like for you? And look at what other people are saying. Say, what parts do I get inspired about other people want? Check it out. Learn from each other. We'll all get better. And again, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. We talk about this stuff, and especially making the most out of your retirement when it comes to your money and everything else in between as a federal employee. So I hope that helps. Good luck with everything, and have an incredible rest of your day.